Thank you everyone for attending this short demo. As you know, machine learning and AI models are used to give insights into the business to provide better services and products to customers. Creating models is time-consuming. We have to decide which attribute to use, deal with absent values, and convert all the attributes to a format that is acceptable to the chosen algorithm. Then we have to try different algorithms to find out which one performs the best. To compound the problem, we have a lack of data scientists, and we can't wait multiple months while people are being trained. The solution is to use tools that will make both novice and experienced data scientists more efficient. Watson Studio includes a tool that can make this task faster and easier. It's called AutoAI. Let me show you how it automates many tasks to get to an optimal model. So here we have the Watson Studio environment in a notebook that can be shared between team members. I already have the data set that I want to be able to predict house prices. So what I need to do is simply click Add to Project, pick AutoAI Experiment, and then give it a name, and then type Create. So at this point, AutoAI sets up the environment, sets up its running environment, and asks us to define the data source. So here, since my data source is already in my project, I will do select from project, select my data set here, and select asset. So at this point, what AutoAI does, it looks at the content of the file to figure out the attributes, what types are the attributes. And we see here we have decimal value, integers, and integers. So the next step is simply to identify the prediction column. So what that is the answer to these specific records. So then when we create the model, AutoAI can look at the data using an algorithm and figure out which attributes leads to which price, which is the MED-V column here. So looking at MED-V, AutoAI figures out that it's a regression type model, which means we have to predict a continuous value. And so we could simply run experiment, but we can also do additional tuning of the environment. So let me show you this very, very quickly. I can click Experiment Settings, and here I can decide the split between my training data and my testing data, which means that I'll be able to train the data with part of what I have, my data set, and then see how good it does on data that has not been seen yet. And so there's other things that can be done in here. And in terms of prediction, if there were some issues, I could decide maybe it was not a regression after all, it was a binary classification, and I could change that here. And I can decide what matrix I want to use to figure out which is the best algorithm here. So since the defaults are fine, I'm going to simply cancel and come back here. So normally here I would say run experiment, but since it takes a few minutes, I will skip that step and go directly to a model that already exists. So here, I've already run the experiment with AutoAI, and if you look at the different view here, we can see that AutoAI went through reading the data set, splitting the holdout data, read the training data, pre-process it, and then did model selection. So when it comes to model selection, this is not something that's necessarily easy because there are multiple algorithms that can be used. So in our case here, we're dealing with a regression model, and AutoAI currently has the choice between 44 different models. So even an experienced data scientist may not know all these different algorithms that are available and doesn't necessarily know which one is the best to apply. So it is nice to have a tool that is able to tell us, to decide for us based on the type of data we have. If we were to have a classification type model, AutoAI has a selection of 30 algorithms. And of course, this is not something that is static because machine learning and AI evolves over time, and so AutoAI will be able to evolve with it, helping all the data scientists. So let's go back to our model creation. So we saw that we were able to pick the algorithm, And then we can decide what to do with AutoAI decides what to do with the different attributes, if it needs to create new attributes, and then what type of tuning needs to be done. So in terms of selection of attributes and feature transformation, you can see that we have a selection of a lot of different ways of doing things. And AutoAI picked 4 of them here for this specific model. So what we end up with is basically 4 algorithms, 4 pipelines that are ranked, and you see the RMSE rank here, ranked by the ranking that we decide in the settings. We could compare all these rankings through the different possible ways of ranking the models and compare them this way. But for us, we had decided on one specific, the RMSE ranking, and it turns out that this specific algorithm has the best value here. We can go look at more details, looking at the pipelines, and pipelines, which is our best model that was created here, and look at the different measurement like we just saw a minute ago, and look at model information, feature transformation, and even feature importance, which is nice because it tells us which feature were important in the decision, and that gives us a bit of an insight of the model we selected. Once we're pleased with it, we can either save the model as a notebook or save it as a model. So that's an important step, because now that we've created the model, we need to be able to save it and decide what to do with it. So saving it is simply giving it a name, and so here we'll quickly change the name to model, so price prediction model, and simply click save. And my model is being saved within my environment. And to show you this, I'll go back to my asset page in my project. And we see here in the asset page, it comes up here, that I have a model price prediction. So a model, having saved a model is very nice, but we need to make it available. And this environment allows us to deploy the model to make it available to other people and other applications. So I simply click deploy, and in the deployment page that comes up here, I say add deployment. And adding a deployment is simply giving it a name, model deployment, model price. Let's call it deployment. And then it deploys as a web service. So when I click save, what happens is the Watson Studio environment takes the model, extracts it from our environment where we saved it, and starts creating a web service. And so it goes through multiple steps, and we see here it goes through initialize, and it will continue eventually to get to a deployment. So let's wait a few seconds. Normally it's pretty quick. And even then we can try and go to the model deployment. Hopefully it will be deployed by the time we get there. And so we get the deployment, we get an overview of what the model is, and we can look at implementation. In implementation, we get the scoring endpoint. So that gives you right there an idea that you can use a REST API using this endpoint and pass the proper values to be able to score some records. And we even provide some code snippet in different languages. Let's say, for example, I look at Python and I see the code snippet, how the data is being formatted to be able to be passed to the request. And so a programmer could simply look at this, take the code snippet as an example, and quickly get to a solution and add this type of capability within their application, so where they can score the records and take advantage of the result. But we also have a test tab here. So for people that don't have much programming experience but still want to be able to try the model, they can use the test tab and fill out the form here for the different attributes and predict the value. We also have an input that allows us to go in a JSON format, and here I will paste a JSON document, and then I can do the prediction, and simply in matter of a few seconds get the prediction of, for this specific record, the value, the median price was at 26.04, which is in the range of values that was expected. So in this short demo, we saw that AutoAI can speed up the selection, development, and deployment of machine learning models. It provides a fast path to insights for AI-infused applications. Well, hopefully you can see the advantage it can provide to your company, and thank you for your time.